Welcome, film geeks, to the inaugural episode of $2 Tuesdays, the series where we talk about movies we haven't talked about before. And today, on this first episode of this series, we are talking about Twister. So let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of All Right, Let's Talk About It. This here inaugural episode of $2 Tuesdays. My name is Savannah. I am your host. I do film reviews and film industry commentary. Now, I've been kind of sitting on this idea lately of wanting to do more with this here podcast, particularly my YouTube channel. I have ideas and thoughts of wanting to more so expand the YouTube portion of this podcast. Because YouTube is just a lot more fun. It's easier to organize YouTube than it is to organize something like, Apple Podcast or Spotify. I have much more creative control over YouTube. So I've been wanting to kind of expand and build that out more. And I wanted to start somewhere. What more can I do? Because at this point, I only release one episode every Friday, sometimes two. Depending on how many movies I saw earlier that week, and then the occasional commentary episode. It all depends on what's happening in the industry and what I have time to really dig into, research, and then talk about. But I've been wanting to do something more, something extra. Trying to figure out what that is. I just burped for those who heard it. Trying to figure out what that is and what that looks like. And really just kind of been sitting on this thought, because there are a lot of movies that I saw last year that I haven't done full reviews for. Just to kind of give you a quick little history lesson of this here podcast. This started out on TikTok and kind of by accident. It was never intentional. I never sought out to be like, I'm going to do film reviews on TikTok now. No, I went to the movies like September 2021 or October 2021, and I went to see Candyman. I had some thoughts after the movie and decided to do a TikTok on it. And the next time I went to the movies, I shared my thoughts as well, did it again the next time, and then it became a regular thing. Every time I went to the movies, I shared my thoughts. And then August of 2022 is when I started really going to the movies every week. Again, that wasn't intentional. It wasn't like I'm going to make sure I go to the movies every single week. It was about mid-October where I realized I have been to the movies every single week since like mid-August. So it became kind of like a challenge, kind of like the ETA on Apple Maps. It was like a challenge to see if I could do it every single week. And I did, except for one week where I went out of town. I actually came back here to Charlotte, which is where I'm recording from right now, for a wedding. Well, I came back to Charlotte, stayed for a little bit, but boom. Anyways, y'all don't need to know about that. So basically, except for 1 week, since August 25th, of 2022, I've been to the movies every single week and I do a review. Now, fast forward a couple months from August 25th, it's December and somebody types a message on Instagram, in a comment section saying I should do a podcast. And I respond with, I can't keep up with everything that I have now. And you want me to do a podcast. But it took me a minute. I said, hold up. Because I've actually had a podcast. I have a hosting service that I pay for, and I have a recording thing. I have two separate apps that I use, one to host and one to actually record the thing that I've been paying for and I haven't been using. So I've had a podcast technically since, I want to say summer 2021. And I was kind of consistent with it, but not really. I didn't know what to talk about I kind of, pigeonholed myself a little bit. Like I didn't really know what all I wanted to talk about every single week. Because talking about some of the stuff that I talk about on TikTok can be mentally draining. And like, do I really want to do that to myself every single week? So I had this space, this opportunity just kind of sitting, and it wasn't doing anything. And then somebody said that, and I was like, hold up, I have a whole podcast that I'm not doing anything with, that I've been wanting to kind of resurrect, but wasn't sure where to go with it. That's a perfect idea. That's brilliant. So I put some steps in motion and quickly archived my episodes. So if you want to listen to any of those episodes, the old podcast, I believe, was called Sellout, and all of those episodes are on YouTube. And just started fresh. Started January 2023, so this year, with our first review, Megan. The sound quality sucks, and I was really upset about it. It was crazy, though, because I listened to it all the way through, and it was fine. And then all of a sudden, it gets online, and it's crap. And I'm like, you know what? Nope. A win is a win. We got the first episode out. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. So now we're here. And I release episodes every Friday. That's at least the goals. Sometimes things come up. I go out of town, what have you. And I wanted to do something more. I wanted to add some layers to this thing. And doing my Friday reviews is fun. I enjoy it. It's great. But I wanted to do something extra. So I figured, hey, there are a lot of movies that I haven't reviewed, especially since I started doing this thing in 2021. So there are definitely movies I would love to do a full review on, but haven't had the opportunity to do so. So I said, why don't I just do like a Throwback Thursday kind of deal? So that's initially what the thought was a Throwback Thursday. But again, I release episodes on Friday. So that's just too close together. I feel like that's just asking too much of y'all. Hey, listen to this episode on Thursday. Now listen to this episode on Friday. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to call Tuesdays? Because I feel like Tuesday's a good day. $2 Tuesdays. You know how some theaters have like a $5 Wednesday, a $5 Tuesday. I figured $2 Tuesday. Why not? I'm pretty sure at some point in my childhood, there was a theater that did $2 Tuesdays. I don't know if that's an actual memory or I just made it up, but here we are. $2 Tuesdays. And we are talking about the movie Twister. Why did I choose Twister? This whole film analysis, film critique thing that I do, it started somewhere, and it started in high school. It started with a class called Film as Literature. It was a very popular elective that a lot of people took their junior and senior year. It was very hard to get into. Managed to get into it my senior year. And it's a super easy class. It's a lot of fun for a lot of people because what do you get to do? You get to watch movies all day. And of course I signed up for it. It's senior year. I'm not trying to do too dang much, but I still got to graduate. And I feel like, hey, this is an easy A and I might enjoy it because, hey, I love going to the movies. It just kind of opened my eyes and ruined film for me for the rest of my life. Um, and I want to kind of give you a peek into what I learned, how I got started, the genesis of it all. Because I took that class, Film as Literature, and that inspired me to study film in college, which I later regretted actually, because I realized I don't want to do anything with this degree. So I was really just kind of meandering through my 20s and 30s until now, where I'm actually finally using my freaking degree. So I guess it all pays off. But it's been a journey with film criticism, film critique, film analysis. And it started with this high school class. And one of the first movies we watched was Twister. Another movie that I remember us watching was Vertigo. So the very first Hitchcock film I ever saw was in high school. It was in a high school classroom, Vertigo. Fun. That was fun because that movie is very trippy. We're kids. We're like 16, 17 years old. And we're all just staring at the TV trying to figure out what's going on, like asking each other, like, what's happening? What is she doing? What's like it was comical. And but one of the first movies we watched was Twister. And I want to kind of take you into that a bit, especially for many of you who have thought, I would love to look at films a little bit deeper. Well, congratulations. I'm going to ruin movies for you. So sit back. So we're talking about Twister. This movie came out in 1996, directed by Jean de Bont. And it's not a cult classic, but it's universally loved. I've never met anyone that didn't enjoy this movie to some degree. Okay, no, I take that back. My brother did not. My brother watched this movie and from that point forward has had a fear of tornadoes. Has he ever seen a tornado? Absolutely not. Okay, we grew up in the Carolinas. We've never seen a tornado. Now there was a moment in Charlotte. I want to say I had to have been about 9 or 10 years old where there was a tornado. But and we hid in the closet, fell asleep. My brother was crying. I wanted to look out the window, and my mom was just, oh my goodness, I'm stuck with these kids in a closet. I think we ended up falling asleep. And if there was any damage from that, I don't remember. Being in New Orleans, we actually had a tornado outbreak. Oh God, last spring or the spring before. I remember, the weather being kind of crazy and not really thinking much of it and getting messages from people on social media asking me if I was okay. Like, oh my gosh, are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. What are you talking about? They're like, there's a tornado outbreak. And I'm like, oh, where? Well, apparently like 10 minutes south of me, there was a tornado tore through the West Bank and then into Arabi. which is kind of sort of southeastish of New Orleans, going into, I think it's St. Bernard Parish. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's St. Bernard Parish. So, my physical and, real life experience with twisters and tornadoes is very, very limited. My brother had no experience whatsoever, but was very much afraid. But I love this movie. It was fascinating. It was different. It kind of encouraged me in this love for tornadoes. There's something about the way this movie portrays tornadoes, not as something scary, but something to be respected. I think that's what kind of did it. And that's what I got from it at, 9, 10 years old. So we're talking 1996. So I would have been 8 or 9 when this movie came out. So we can take a look at the date. So the release date was May 10th, 1996. So yes, I would have been 8 years old. 8 years old, going into my 9th year of life when this movie came out. And yeah, again, I loved it, and I've loved it ever since. This is like my go-to movie whenever I'm falling asleep. Yeah, I'm one of those. I have to sleep with a fan on, the ceiling fan, an oscillating fan, because again, I live in New Orleans, so it's hot. The essential oil diffuser, and something on the television. So complete. I can't. I I can sleep in complete silence. I mean, I'm one of those people where if I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. The conditions don't have to be right. If I'm tired, I'm passing out. That's just it. But I prefer noise. I don't. I prefer noise at night, and so Twister is perfect because it's so loud and it's constant weather essentially. But I'm getting a little off topic. So just to kind of give some background on this movie, this is Twister, directed by Jean Debont. Oh, I did not know this, but one of the writers for the screenplay was Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton, for those who don't know, is the author of Jurassic Park. He also wrote Congo and the Sphere. Also, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, the sequel to it. So, those are the only direct adaptations from a novel that have come out from the Jurassic Park series. Everything else was just a adaptation from the original films. So, yeah, actually, one of my favorite books. I read it, I think, in ninth grade. I've read it twice. I love that book, Jurassic Park. Again, we're on a tangent. But yeah, Michael Crichton was one of the co-writers for this screenplay, which makes perfect sense because if I remember correctly, um, Michael Crichton he has since passed away. He passed away in 2008, was a medical doctor. He was, he was a medical doctor, received his BA and MD from Harvard University, and was a certifiable genius and was, could have done anything, but he loved to write and he wrote a lot of books about, medical stuff, be it, zoology, paleontology, genetic modification. If you've never read Jurassic Park, the science is so detailed in that book, you kind of forget that it's just a book. It's just a novel. It's just fiction. So it surprises me not at all that he would have been a writer in this movie because of the science of it all. Because this isn't just a movie about tornadoes. This is about the study of tornadoes. This is about creating a new advanced warning system for tornadoes and using this device they've created called Dorothy so they can study the inside of a tornado, something that has, according to this movie, never been done before. So this isn't just, a fun thriller of a movie. It's science fiction in a sense, but there's some real life application here. That's where Michael Crichton comes in. He's able to create, it's interesting the way he does things, the way he's able to create absolute fiction from real life data and make you think it's real. Again, if you've never read Jurassic Park, the science in there is so detailed and so complete. You have to remind yourself, this is not real. Like I remember reading, thinking we could actually do this. This is plausible. Of course, I'm like 14 years old. What do I know about what I'm reading? And yeah, so he's amazing. We love him. Stars Helen Hunt. The cast in this is amazing. So Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Jamie Gertz. I've never been able to pronounce this man's last name, but it's the dude from The Princess Bride. Carrie Elwes. Also stars Sean Whalen, whom I adore, absolutely adore him. He was Roach in People Under the Stairs. He was also Mantooth in an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. Like, I love Sean Whalen. Also stars the great I was about to call him Dustin. That's his character's name, Philip Seymour Hoffman. The late and great Philip Seymour Hoffman. This has such a very diverse cast, and when I say diverse, I'm not talking skin color. I'm just talking in terms of um, just personality. You have a lot of different personalities coming into this film to make such a complete picture, and that's kind of purposeful. And this diversity in personality isn't just, in the actors and who they are and how they express themselves, but it is in how they express themselves. It's also in their clothing, it's in the cars they drive, it's in the music. And this was such a great movie to kind of introduce us to the world of film analysis and breaking down the elements of what makes a movie and what makes a movie great, and also the decisions that go into kind of getting you into the mindset of this movie, because a lot of it is psychological. There are certain colors we associate with certain things. So typically, if you see someone wearing a lot of blue, that tends to be this person's very calm, very cool, easygoing. Somebody's wearing red, that tends to suggest passion, or yellow is happiness. Green is also often, deceit, envy, stuff like that. So this movie really plays on color, it plays on timing, it plays on music. And so what are some things? I just want to just jot down a couple things just to kind of get you started in your the ruining of film for you journey. Kind of, you get what I'm saying? So, again, this is the movie Twister, and we have this movie that really draws us in because it's about tornadoes and destruction and whatnot. And who wouldn't be attracted to that? But underneath this big plot of tornadoes, there is a subplot of a relationship. Bill Paxton plays Bill. Please tell me, yep, I got that man's name right. Bill Paxton plays Bill. Helen Hunt plays Joe, and they are going through a divorce. And this whole movie starts with Bill Paxton coming out into the field to meet up with Joe. Joe is in the field with her team of storm chasers because there's about to be this big outbreak of tornadoes. And she needs to sign the divorce papers. She's been stalling. He doesn't understand why. And he needs her to get it done so that he can get married. He has brought along his fiancee, Melissa, played by Jamie Gertz. Now, here's your first little clue into color. Jamie Gertz, his fiance, is wearing all white. She has a white outfit on, and then she has a Southern accent. On top of that, she has a very kind of Southern allure to her. The color choice and then the accent are all intentional. It's the color choice to kind of give us a picture of innocence, that she's kind of separated from this. She's not quite inducted into this world of storm chasing. She's an innocent. And then the Southern accent to kind of trick us into seeing her as a bit naive. I'm Southern, born bred, cornbread Southern. So I don't take offense to that, because that's just kind of where your mind goes. This innocent and harmless naivete. And she's coming into this world completely ignorant. All she knows is Bill. And Bill really hasn't given her much info. Now, Bill's outfit choice is very interesting. It's something to watch throughout this movie is the way his clothes change, because he comes up and he's caught between two worlds. He has kind of this fun little outfit, but he has his button up underneath. So he's caught between where he once was storm chasing, doing all the fun stuff, and now going to his new corporate job as a meteorologist. So he's caught between these two worlds, and it kind of shows in his clothing. Now, we get out to the field and we meet all these different characters. And something to note, and you'll notice this throughout the movie, is that each character has kind of their own theme song. And it mixes in with the score. So, we hear a little bit of Eric Clapton, some rock music, classical music, even their different cars kind of match their personality. There are a couple of them, their clothing choices kind of match the vehicles. Let's take Dusty, for instance, who is played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he kind of drives this like rinky-dink renovated school bus listening to Eric Clapton. He's kind of your carefree. If there was a stoner to be had in this movie, he would be it. Everything about his setup, from his hair, his clothes, the vehicle, the music, is designed to give you an idea of this man's personality without telling you anything. That's the beauty of movies. They're supposed to show you, not tell you. So what can you show me that can tell me who this person is without saying a word? That is the point of clothing, color, hair, makeup, even things like vehicles, even something simple as the setting, a city. So right off the bat, we know Dusty is kind of a goofball. We know Bill is kind of caught between two worlds, and we know Melissa has no idea what she's stepping into. That all makes sense? Cool. All right, let's keep going. So, this movie is paying homage to two separate things. One kind of comes into play is a little bit more obvious than the other, but this movie is paying an homage to The Wizard of Oz and also to Stanley Kubrick. So there are a lot of parallels in this movie to The Wizard of Oz. The more obvious ones being, Dorothy, right? So they have this device or machine thing they've built that holds all these little sensors. And their goal is to get these sensors up into the funnel of the tornado so they can take accurate readings from the inside of a tornado. They want to be the first to get it done. And they've created four of these called Dorothy. So, has a picture of Dorothy with her basket and her dog. So, obviously, cute little ode to Dorothy. At the very beginning of the movie, kind of our intro, we get a picture of a young Jo with her mom and dad, and she's sleeping, and she has a dog. It's a Cairn Terrier, the same breed as Toto. This dog's name is Toby. So, we get that. And there are a couple of other little things that are very much little Easter eggs, if you will, to kind of run these two movies, Twister and The Wizard of Oz, side by side. So when we meet Jo, her truck is yellow, the yellow brick road, right? And ultimately that truck gets destroyed, but it's okay though, because we have Bill's truck, and Bill's truck is red, like the ruby slippers. And in this movie, there are 3 separate scenes in which they have to get this Dorothy up into the funnel. Now they have 4 containers that they use, but it's 3 separate scenes, the clicking of the heels. They really have 3 attempts to get it right before they can quote unquote go home. The scene with the cow in the sky, if you remember from the original film Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy is in the funnel on her way to Oz, she sees a cow. So that's just a, cute little nod to the film. Dusty at one point does a little jig. I mean, he is basically the scarecrow. So these little things that kind of, that's the Wizard of Oz. Now we have there's not really a villain in this movie, so to speak. More so challenges, sources of conflict. So we have Jonas, who is in competition with Jo and her team. So Jo and her team have, this multicolored entourage of vehicles and personalities. They're very, casual and just, fun loving people. But you have Jonas and his team, and they're all in black vehicles. So black, they're supposed to give us the illusion of being the villain here, the antagonist. But if I had to look at it, I wouldn't say they're villains, so to speak, but they're the challenge. They are the driving force of the plot here, because they're on a time crunch. Because not only are they trying to get all of this done within a day, but they also have to beat Jonas. So it's a source of challenge and conflict. But we also have another character within this story, an unlikely character, which is the tornadoes themselves. And these tornadoes, again, they're not really villains, but they're a source of challenge. And the way these tornadoes are portrayed and presented to us is something to be admired and respected. So again, the music plays a big role in this movie. So whenever we see a tornado, it's usually very, ha kind of music, awe-inspiring, for us to kind of gaze and just appreciate. Every time you see a tornado, it's something to be, again, admired and respected and appreciated. We're not supposed to be afraid here, because the people that we're following, the people we've connected, they're not afraid. They're excited. They are over the moon with what they are seeing, and the director wants us to be as well. We're not supposed to be scared here. We're supposed to be on this journey of discovery with them as the tornadoes get bigger and bigger. And they start to almost have their own little personalities where it's almost like they're challenging Joe and Bill. Again, not quite a villain, but a definite source of conflict. Now, I told you that they're paying homage to two different things. Paying homage to The Wizard of Oz and also paying homage to Stanley Kubrick. There is one character in this movie whose name is Kubrick. Oddly enough, I couldn't find it, but I think there might be a character in this movie named Stanley. Maybe, but definitely there is a character named Kubrick. And then we go to the drive-through scene, and what's playing at the drive-through? The Shining. So directors will often do this where, this is not unusual for directors or writers or even actors to kind of pay homage to someone they admire within the industry. John Carpenter did it in the Halloween movie. Ooh, you heard that burp? That was a good breakfast. So Halloween, John Carpenter, Alfred Hitchcock. The fact that Jamie Lee Curtis just happened to be the daughter of Marion Crane was kind of just, it just happenstance, but it was a perfect opportunity that they just couldn't help but seize on. But, Sam Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis. Sam Loomis is a character in Hitchcock, in Psycho. So, yeah, just little things like that. I forget the name of the movie, but Spike Lee is a huge fan. There's a scene. It's direct, almost shot for shot of the scene in the movie. And when I think of it, I'm going to scream. But it's directly, and it's in the movie Do the Right Thing. So yeah, directors will often do this where they'll pay homage to an original or someone they admire within the industry. Martin Scorsese does it a lot. The entire movie Hugo was basically an homage to the lost films of the silent era. At one point in the movie, he actually recreates the little short film of coming into the train station, even trying to generate the response that it's not so much he's recreating that short film, but he's recreating what people perceived when they watched this, that people were actually ran out of the theater because, it's just a small little, couple seconds clip of a train coming into the station, but people had never seen anything like that before. These motion and moving pictures. So people ran out of the theater because they thought the train was coming at them. And Martin Scorsese decided to recreate this train coming at you. Beautifully done, right? And we have Jean DeBont, who does kind of this in Twister, paying homage to Stanley Kubrick, who clearly is an inspiration here. And also paying homage to Wizard of Oz, because not only do we have these weird little Easter eggs and parallels to the movie, at one point, Aunt Meg, right before she's hit by a tornado, is watching a movie with Judy Garland. Cutesy little stuff. Let me know if any of that makes sense or if you have any questions. Want to advertise on this podcast? Check the episode description to see how you can be featured on the next episode. So I hope that was as fun for you as it was for me. Even if it wasn't, it was fun for me. I had a good time going down memory lane. But that's pretty much it. That's how I got started doing all of these things. It started with a high school class. One of the first movies we watched was Twister. Now, I can give you a long list of movies you should watch if you're serious about studying film. But I think if you're wanting to kind of dip your toes and, learn about the little things like editing, sound, costuming, color, the metaphorical elements of film, Twister's a good movie. Number one, you've probably already seen it, so you're not going to miss anything looking at these little itty bitty details. It's a way to get your feet wet. I highly recommend, if you're going to study film, start with the film you've already seen and work from there. and then start backwards. You got to start from the very beginning and then work your way up. It helps starting at these older movies and seeing the progression of technology within film. It all makes sense. But anyway, so yeah, that was Twister. And I don't know, I just love it. Not just the way the movie kind of is very in your face with a lot of these different elements, but also how it plays with time. So we have these two subplots, right? These two plots, right? And both of these plots are centered around destruction or the disintegrating of something. So we have this overarching plot about Dorothy and the tornadoes, getting this thing up into the air so they can better study tornadoes, so they can prevent destruction. And then we have the destruction of a marriage. Bill has given Joe a deadline. He acquiesces and said, okay, I'm here along for the ride, but you've got until the end of the day. You've got it until the end of the day to make Dorothy fly or I'm gone. So at the end of the day, he's out and she has to make a decision. Do I sign the papers or do I not? Do I fight for this or do I not? So it's the end of so we get to the second attempt to get Dorothy into the air. We get a little more insight into their relationship and why things fell apart. And then we have this little B-roll shot of a sunset. It's innocent enough, but it's important. Why? Because we have a deadline. They had until the end of the day to get Dorothy into the air or they lose Bill. She has until the end of the day to sign the papers. Time is up. Stuff like that. I love films that show us and don't tell us. A lot of films, they want to talk too dang much. But this film gives us a lot without saying anything, and it allows us to kind of engage and go along for the ride. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you on this inaugural episode of $2 Tuesdays. I can't wait to keep doing this with you. And no, I have no idea what's next. I have no idea. Again, I got October all planned out. I've got November all planned out. September, I don't know where to start. I'm so excited. That's kind of where I'm at. Where do I begin? I can tell you where I'm going to be in 5 to 6 weeks, but where do I begin? And I think this is a great place to start. Get you kind of into my mindset, into my head. Hopefully I ruin movies for you a little bit because why should I be the only one to suffer? But let me know what you thought. Let me know if you're someone who studied film in college or in school, or you took a class at some point, what was one of your favorite movies to watch? What is something that still sticks with you, something you still remember? Love to hear it. I love these conversations. Also, it's also funny because a lot of us studied in different places, yet we all learned the same thing. It's just, I don't know, it's just funny to me. So I want to hear it. Let me know in the comments section. I love you all, and I will see you next time.